All right, everybody, welcome back to the Move Podcast, brought to you each and every time by Aura. Aura Ring, we talk about it every day. There is a bit of an update here, and I was excited to see this today. We've talked in the past about their partnerships with NBA, WNBA, UFC. New partnership. I just saw it announced. USA Surfing. Talk about a sport. JB, that's sort of near and dear to your heart in a way, but surfing.
My daughter's a surfer, not me. It's like the hardest sport.
No, you're the boat driver and beer drinker and an hourly wage earner.
Yes, I am.
You know, so, but surfing's changing. Like, it's crazy. With Kelly Slater's new technology at Surf Ranch and all these things, like that game's going to change. It's a cool partnership that Aura just announced. But when it comes to optimizing your life, it all begins with sleep. Whether it's physical performance, mental clarity, sleep is essential. And the best device on the market is the Aura Ring. By the way, the finger is a heck of a lot more accurate than any other part of the body when it comes to measuring key things like sleep cycles, core temp, heart rate variability, all the different things that you experience through the night. Head on over to Aura Ring, O-U-R-A ring.com. Before we jump into stage 4, today's show also brought to you by, and I teased this out the other day when I talked about Amp Human, because we are massive fans of the PR lotion. It is, without a doubt, it works. It's been proven to work to buffer lactic acid. We do know that lactic acid is the one and only thing that's going to slow you down and prohibit or inhibit you from performing better. PR lotion buffers that, and it makes a huge difference. We're seeing it in the tour. You see it in all the big leagues. I teased out the other day that there is news on the way. Today, just off the presses, this company, Amp Human, who we are just huge fans of, is merging with, and this was not, this just happened. We've been fans of Momentous for a long time. George, I know you're a big believer in the protein powders and all their products. Hot off the press, a new merger with Amp Human and Momentous. Big news. And two, not just two great sets or suites of products, but two great teams.
Slide that Momentous over into your frame there for the viewers on YouTube. There you
Look
go.
at that. And it's when it comes to, we've tested a bunch of protein powders over the years. When it comes to the ingredients and just the actual effect of it, I found it to be the best. And taste is there, performance is there.
Absolutely easy on the stomach. And I didn't know they have all these other cool, interesting products as well. Yep. We just got a great care package from them. Thank you very much.
And I was reading the fine print here on this Momentous protein powder, and it actually says, it's in parentheses, but it says, in order to do more pull-ups, apply an extra scoop. But this is a game changer. Again, hot off the presses, head on over to amphuman.com/momentous and use the code TDF20 for 20% off site-wide on all Momentous and Amp Human products. Big news. Congrats to everybody at the Amp team. Congrats to everybody at Momentous. Match made in heaven. And I keep saying this, but before we do jump into stage 4, let's go ahead and cue Alan for stage 4 so we make sure we know which place we're going from and to.
Stage 4, Redon to Fougères.
Wait, say it again? I didn't have my cans on, sorry.
Okay, one more time.
Une autre fois.
Stage 4, Redon to Fougères.
Redon to Fougères. Hell of a day. Hell of a day. Mark Cavendish just, you guys know, when you listen to the show all the time, I love Mark Cavendish. I never would have thought this would have happened. And I think we need to spend.
I actually believe you called me a romantic and delusional that I called him for the win yesterday.
I just said I didn't see it coming. I say things sometimes in the heat of the moment, and I never. And by the way, I am so happy for him.
Yeah.
But I had to put my hand in the fire. Ain't no way. But before we break that down, because it was an exceptional day for Mark Cavendish, but it's also an exceptional day for the diva over here, who turns 48 years old today. We got a couple of things to show, but yesterday we were here and George is getting all these notifications on his phone. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I got some groceries delivered." I was like, "What in Aspen?" Like, I didn't know they like deliver groceries in Aspen. I was like a small town. Like most people drive to the grocery store. Well, no, the birthday boy. And look what shows up. Here is the man. He actually went on to some app and ordered groceries. I know he's 48 today, not 8, but he's got a whole bunch of cookies. Actually, a lot of cookies. A bunch of
3 or 4 kinds.
Yep, chips. I mean, is this the extent of the order?
Well, a couple things. I mean, if I could explain myself, I got yelled at by our main squeeze Tiff the other day because I was eating apparently her gluten-free cookies.
Okay.
And then Bolchka, conveniently left out, some of the healthy stuff that I had also purchased, but he just made a big picture of that stuff.
Well, this was our
I am
question.
guilty of getting a lot of snacks when I grocery shop. It drives my wife crazy, but
I'm going to say,
had to keep it
there's
rolling.
no way Melanie let you eat that stuff at home. There's
No. She would not be happy if I came home with that.
Well, guess what?
But
Now she going no.
it's fun being here on my birthday. Oh, wait, whoa. What's going on
Whoa! Speaking of, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to George.
Sexy
here?
George.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
We don't have to finish the
happy
song.
birthday to you.
Thank you, guys.
Blow 'em out.
Appreciate it.
Wow, he got. Oh no!
Bad luck.
Oh wait,
Bad luck everywhere.
wait. He does
keep
not
going.
have. He does not have the lung power to blow them out. Not only can he
Still
not do
acclimating,
pull-ups.
from this altitude.
Oh
Thank you,
man,
Hicks.
the set. Smoke on the set. Are
the
these the trick candles?
The old trick candle's been pranking people since the 70s.
Let me try to blow it out.
I gotta say,
I wonder
know
if
we're
I
gonna
could.
break-
If I get these blown out, you are a certified Cat 3. Give me that thing.
We're gonna break down the finish.
JB,
but
pass me that
what a
pen.
great birthday present! Have Cav winning on my birthday.
A clear sign we are post-COVID, taking turns blowing on the cake.
And the candles do not reignite.
VO2 max of that
Got
man.
me there.
Huh?
You got me there.
Oh no!
It's gonna keep.
Wow.
going.
So they keep going. Wow. Happy birthday, George.
That's sad.
Thank you, thank
We
you,
got
LA.
a,
Well, actually,
This is.
I found out this morning we all call you LA. So I was going to say I'm really happy to be here on my birthday next to JB. And what would I normally say would be LA, but apparently there's a new name for you that your beautiful partner has shared with us. Now your name around the house. Would you call me Diva all the time? Is HRH, His Royal Highness? You care to explain where
What
this
do you-
HRH came from?
This is not. It is your birthday. It is. Why is the candle back on? Damn it. That was years ago. I've changed my ways. I realized that I have to many times, or at least sometimes, I have to care for myself, and that was a long time ago. But she conveniently left town. Her and Max are going to Boston to see some friends and go to a Red Sox game at Fenway
cool.
Park. They're so excited. I'm excited for them, and she just left. So I can't be done here and walk over there and say, "Babe, what the fuck?" Like, you cannot say these things to George because he will for sure run over and say it. But that has been a long time ago. I mean, I was an HRH back then, but I've evolved.
All right.
Yeah. Let's talk about stage 4. I mean, you cannot say enough about Mark Cavendish and 31. Well, there's a bunch of numbers here you can roll off. Hasn't been at the Tour in 3 years. Hasn't won a stage in the Tour de France in 5 years. And today won his 31st stage, only 3 behind the greatest of all time, Eddie Merckx. Dude, speechless.
I know you got to keep in mind, giving listeners some context, that I remember a very similar emotional scene with Cavendish just a few years ago because he thought his career was over. It was end of season, didn't get the results, in tears, facing retirement, maybe not a new contract. He thought it was done.
Well,
Yeah, I get goosebumps just thinking about what he did today. I mean, I've known this man for a long time. I was part of 8 of those wins, 8 of those 31 wins, and on High Road and HTC. And he's just such an emotional character, and just one of the best people to be around. Super funny, just to see what he's been through. Like a lot of self-doubt, a lot of depression. He was open about his depression. I mean, you guys just think he shows up at the Tour de France and he wins the stage. It's all good. Like the road that he's gone through to get there, after being one of the best cyclists in the world, to getting sick, to having a lot of self-doubt enter his mind. This is a guy I'll never forget. In 2009, started the Tour de France. For some reason, Tom Bonin couldn't start the Tour that year, and he comes up to me. He's like, "Man, I'm super disappointed." And he's like, at that point, Tom was one of his biggest competitors in the sprints, and he goes, "You know, Mac, I was actually excited for Tom to come because I would actually have to try in the sprints." I mean, this is how confident this man goes through, the confidence he has. And he ended up winning 4 stages that year. So that's the type of person he was. And even before this, like 2 weeks before the Tour de France, he didn't have that confidence. He wasn't sure he wanted to go. In fact, I was talking to him and he was like, I'm not sure I'm ready for this, this level of racing. And just to see what he did today and watching him in these bonus sprints, I know him so well. I know his body language so well. And you can just see he might have not won a couple of them. Caleb came around, but he was not all in. He was not all in. In this sprint today, what he did was the old Cavendish. And we can break down exactly what happened in that last, couple hundred meters. But I think we need to talk about what happened before that. I mean, this was the drama we want to see at the Tour de France. We don't want to see this bullshit crashing, people on the ground. We want to see somebody fighting to the very last minute, getting caught with 100 meters to go. Although I'm definitely happy Cav won. We were all cheering for this guy to make it to the finish line. What an incredible ride he did. But that is the drama we want to see at the Tour de France.
Right. And what happened before that, I'm convinced this is all the difference for him, is what happened before that is he switched teams. I mean, you cannot underestimate what it means to be in the right program, the right atmosphere, the right guys around you, the right momentum, the right morale. Like, that doesn't happen on any other team. Like him going back to kind of Quick Step. I mean, that is the single biggest reason that he won today.
And let's be real here. It's not like he switched teams by choice. He had no other option. There was 0 options for him. He thought he was done. Quick Step came in last minute, gave him another chance, probably riding for minimum wage. He's not happy about that, but this was his chance to come back to the spotlight, and here he is winning his 31st stage of the Tour de France, second of all time.
And 10 days ago, he wasn't even going to the Tour.
Yeah. I mean,
this is, if you go, for all you cycling fanatics who really read the daily news, I mean, he wasn't selected for the Tour. They were taking Sam Bennett, last year's green jersey winner. And there was a whole, and you could go down this rabbit hole of the drama between Sam Bennett and Patrick Lefevre. But the fact this guy just didn't get on his plane to the Tour and they had to call Cav, like all of these things just sort of layering on. It's amazing. I mean, I never, I said it again, I'm going to say it again. I never would have thought this would have happened, but I'm psyched for him. He is a hell of a sweetheart, and good for him. And I'm done. Okay, I'm done bashing on Mark Cavendish. I promise. Because I think a guy like that, I think he's like, fuck it, I'm 3 away. You watch. He listen to me now. I'm like, I sound like George. I'm a romantic. What am I? A romantic?
I know, you are.
A romantic.
You're jumping on the bandwagon here.
No, but
I like it.
Thank you. But
you and Mark have very similar personalities.
Absolutely.
Believe it or not,
we've always gotten along very well.
Can never count both of you guys out.
But you said something as we were watching that I'd love for you to elaborate on it, and you're like, oh yeah, now what? Like he's got his mojo back.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing, to have the confidence.
And
especially as a sprinter.
And in that environment, like that team, and we'll get into tomorrow. I have some ideas on what's going to happen tomorrow. That morale there is sky high.
Morale's there sky high, and I mean today you can tell there was not a very well organized chase. I mean, it's not like they were all 100% in for Cav. They didn't have the whole team at the front. Of course, they have different objectives in this race, but to see the world champion come up there with 1,500 meters to go and just give it that last bit of acceleration, which arguably could be the only reason that guy ended up ultimately getting caught at the finish line. But also to see Cav, the way he had to navigate himself through that sprint, he doesn't love to be on his own in the final 500 meters. He loves to have a clear lead out. He was following Philipsen, catching the Lotto guy right before the end, had to sort of hesitate there on the right side, then hesitate on the left side, still won by almost a bike length. I think he would have won by 2 or 3 bike lengths today without that sort of navigating around in the last 200 meters.
Yeah. That guy that we keep talking about is Brent Van Moor.
Yeah.
Who, I was very proud of myself today because we were sitting. I'm very rarely right about cycling these days, but I said, he had a minute with 6 or 7K to go, which is a lot. And he's a big engine. This is no pannekuchen.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy can roll. And I said, and I knew that the finish was slightly uphill. I said, he's going to get caught with 200 meters to go. Because they are just going, and you're right, George. If Julian Alaphilippe is not. If anybody sits up there, that's just the break that this kid would have needed. And he got caught with 200 meters to go. So it was a little consolation prize for LA.
You did call it. You saw the finish was slightly uphill, and that made all the difference between Alaphilippe going in the last 1,500 meters. You saw the overhead shot. The peloton was fanned out. You never see that in 1,500 meters to go to the finish line. That means there isn't a joint effort to catch this guy. But then Alaphilippe went to the front, got it going again, and that made the difference.
And for anytime this happens again in the future for you fans, just know when they finally start sprinting, they are going twice as fast as that guy that's been out there.
Yeah.
So even with a big engine, even not being a Panakuchen, they are going so much faster.
I think one thing that's interesting with that Brent Van Meer is that you talk about opportunity. Cav getting the chance to go when he didn't think he was going. The opportunity for Van Meer. Caleb Ewan goes home with a broken collarbone, so he gets to take these chances, right. And you just never know when your tour is going to change.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been a great story too, right? You have a guy who's arguably the fastest guy in the race goes out. That was they just probably assumed he had 2 or 3 wins in him, and boom, gets. And by the way, they got some great breakaway specialists.
Yeah, I was going to say with Gilbert and more now and DeHent. I mean, these guys, their whole objective has changed now. We're going to see them pretty much in every breakaway that happens.
Animating the race. That's fun for those guys that hate breakaways, like me. Cav. Hey, congrats. And George has some amazing like audio messages that Cav sends, but he won't air them on the show. Now, he did air them for our pre-show, which is open to members only. So, and for all the members that were on listening, you got to hear Cav. I mean, Cav was, and by the way, Cav's like us. Like he had, at the end of the race, they were interviewing him, and I don't know what happened to the little 5-second filter that these networks are supposed to use. Well, they missed it. He had to put $1 in the cuss jar. It was incredible. But these audio messages that George rips in the pre-show are just gold.
I mean, just to see the emotion of Cav had at the finish today. I mean, I don't think there's many dry eyes out there. Like I said, everything he's been through. I know his family back home was just in awe. I spoke to his wife briefly. She's super excited. That's just an all-around great guy and awesome day.
Here's a question for you, George, and maybe you can get us an answer. And we don't have to say the actual amount, but a guy like him who is a legend, right? Now we have to start talking about him potentially breaking a record, which would be massive. We know he goes to Quick Step, which was the only move he could make. We know that he is on the lowest salary possible. There has to be. I mean, I wonder what the bonus is. Like if you're Patrick Lefebvre and say, "Yes, I'll take you. Yes, I'll try to rehab your career, and yes, I'll give you X amount for Tour de France stage wins." Thinking in his mind, going, "There's no way," right? So I'd love to know what that bonus is like. Well, because once I know that, then I can tell you how many stages he's going to win.
No, I don't know the answer to that.
I know, but you're going to find out.
I can find out.
You need to find out the answer.
What is knowing minimum
Patrick
wage?
Lefebvre, how he's all of a sudden calling out in public that he made Doc Sam Bennett's pay, he might have been anticipating having to pay Cav a big bonus. Who knows?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's $100,000 per stage win.
Do they have stage win bonuses written in?
100, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What is minimum wage?
I mean, he's probably making
for a pro tour. I think it's 150.
Yeah, but be hard to pay a former world champion and a guy like him $150,000.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got to be low 200s at the lowest, I think. But
and then you got to think
$100,000 for these. I bet that's what it is.
But you got to think that a stage win, the history, the story of 31 wins is worth some endorsements popping back up.
Well, I mean, this is Cav. Even with Cav not winning, he's just the ultimate personality in the sport of cycling. I'm sure he has the endorsements going on already. You can see he had a RM watch on. I mean, he's got a lot going on, and trust me, his bonus today is the last thing on his mind. Yeah. He is over the moon, excited.
Be the first thing on my mind.
Not true. I'll actually call you out. That is not true. But this is the last thing on his mind right now. He's back at the top of the game. You see the raw emotion when he crossed the finish line, and this is just an amazing day.
Did you ever cross the finish and just hear cha-ching in your head?
Yeah. And then about 10 years later, somebody opened that door and the bills were just flying out. So I've seen it go both ways. Oh God. Yeah. Hey, hell of a ride. Hell of a ride. It's going to be a fun story to follow. This, by the way, this tour has not disappointed. I mean, a lot of it's been unfortunate, but it's been exciting. It's going to be interesting to to follow this. What it would be one of the biggest stories of all time.
I mean, let's not forget he's got one of the best lead out trains in the world, if not the best one. And now they have the confidence in him. They probably weren't quite sure he can pull it off today, but now that they have it, we're going to see potentially a lot more wins from Cav in this tour.
Well, before they got racing today. What you want to go ahead and talk a little bit?
No,
first?
I'm just getting ready for the ride and pull-up contest.
Before they got racing today, the protest did happen.
This is a longer discussion. I got a lot of thoughts on this.
Okay.
And I have a proposal. And I know George doesn't ever like my proposals. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. And I believe that it's a good solution. But before we get to that stuff, today's show also brought to you by. And if you're watching, you can see this. I'm not just talking about a great product. I'm actually getting ready. I'm getting ready for the ride. I'm getting ready for the pull-up contest that is going to be exclusive to members, which will be followed up by our happy hour. But this is part of my daily routine. You see this? You see my Juve light on my face? And this isn't just like I want to be on the Rolling Stones. This is proven to work. And I love talking about products that actually have the science to back it up. And this is my portable unit. You guys have seen, the crack shot on Instagram where I have have an entire wall of Juve red light. But 2017 study, increased time to exhaustion in competitive cyclists, suggesting that this intervention is a possible non-pharmacological ergogenic agent. Wow, that sounds fast. And the main reason that red light therapy works is because it boosts cellular energy, and the more energy your body has, the better it's going to work. Juve is the leader in this space. Go on over to Juve, and that's JOOVV.com/TheMove. That's Juve.com/TheMove. Discount code TheMove. $50 off your first purchase of a Generation 3.0 device or the Juve Go 2.0. A couple of things apply there, but I love this brand. And by the way, they're just crushing it. And I'm tempted to leave it on because George was birthdays are for getting your ass kicked. And so
I'm fortunate enough to have one of those as well at my house, and I got buddies coming over all the time using it. So I definitely love that product.
You ain't using mine this month. I promise you that. Today's show also brought to you by Roka. This another great brand we just love a bunch. The best lens out there, the best fit, the best style. You're seeing them all over the Peloton. You're seeing them also in pro triathlon, a bunch of other sports, Olympic trials here and there. Out of Austin, Texas, founded by badass athletes for badass athletes, and really kind of making a move in the prescription space. And as JB says, the progressives, where right now they're clear. He goes outside and they turn into sunnies. Roka just on fire, and we're seeing them a bunch too. As George and I go out and pedal on the trails here or on the roads after the show, I just see so many people wearing the new shades. So head on over, and there's our flow code. Head on over to Roka, ROKA.com, Roka.com, and enter the move at checkout for 20% off. So, shall we talk about, you guys wanted to talk about the protest. I actually said, you know what, it's more like a no test. Like this, I have talked about this more than almost anybody in this space. I'm kind of sick of it. This is not working. You can stand there for a minute. It's not working, right? With this current structure with all the major powers, so UCI and ASO primarily. And then you've got this piddly little quote-unquote Riders Association or union. It has no power. So I'm on the red line. I'm about to be done.
And they're spending money to be a part of that.
Well, I guess the riders pay a percentage of their salary into this wannabe union, and then they call them to complain and say, "Listen, we're seeing," and they say, "Well, they're sorry, there's nothing we can do." Then what the fuck are we paying you for? This is a joke.
Yeah. Not only that, the riders, the CPA, and the proposed to make the time at 5K to go yesterday, which was right before that really super dangerous downhill left-hand corner with right coming into the finish line with walls on either side. And they made a point where they said, let's make the time from 5K to go. That way people aren't that drastically affected by the danger of this route. Philippe Gilbert, a good friend of mine, put up a video explaining it, sent it to me this morning. And ASO signed off on it. They were like, okay, we can do this. UCI denied the request. So it's just it's a sad thing to see.
Yeah, well, I don't even know that would have that big of an effect. Again, listen to me. I can't even get words out. I'm so sick of talking about it. I feel like an idiot. This has to start in the off season. This has to when they're picking the. Honestly, I feel stupid saying this again because I've said it so many times. If you don't have a seat at the table when ASO and maybe in partnership with UCI is designing the route, and you don't have somebody at that table to say yes, no, we'll do this, we won't do that, we're wasting time. We're wasting time. And because, by the way, too, if you are at that table and whoever is elected to be at that table on behalf of the riders, if they sign off, then we got nothing to talk about. Okay? Because and if you're ASO and the UCI, you should want that representative at the table, because then you're sitting here dealing with 1 minute live protests and riders tweeting and all this shit. Put that guy at the table, they sign off, and we're done. We go race our bikes. If something happens, we go, hey guys, you were at the table.
Yeah, I mean, Gilbert covers that a bit in his video as well. He said it is partly the riders' fault for not speaking up more loudly before the actual stage. A lot of them rode and saw this course. So he thinks that they could have been a bit louder. But apparently, Leparchian, the president of the UCI, who denied the request to make the time at 5K to go, also is from that hometown, which is a little bit of a strange thing. But that's his town.
This guy's a clown. He is a complete clown. And he wouldn't know a bike race from a baguette. I promise you.
Well, Johan made a great point on his Facebook page today where like it's almost like these guys making the calls have no idea what it's like to be a rider anymore. And they really they have ex-riders in there, so that's no excuse. I mean, they know what it's like to be a rider. They know what it's like to be in these battles at the Tour de France and other races for that matter. So they should have the riders' safety as first priority.
So you want my proposal?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so I just counted up the team. We have 23 teams in the Tour de France this year. A couple of years ago, we went from 9 riders to 8. We were not in support of that. We think that a 3-week tour is hard enough. You actually need that extra rider. We don't need 23 teams. And a good handful of these teams do not deserve to be in the Super Bowl of cycling. So what? So, and I'm proposing you take it to 20 teams or even less, right? More riders you just do the math. You have more humans on a bike that all want to be at the same place at the same time, and the road narrows and there's a corner, whatever, throw in weather. Just do the math.
Of 23 teams, how many of them get a stage win, or results?
Well, it depends on the year, but
you know what I mean? I mean, just how many of them are I shouldn't say non-factor, but
well, it's called pack fill.
Yeah.
We got to delete the pack fill just because in the ASO plays favorites and plays all these games. Remember in the old days, they'd put these just jitbag French teams in. They did not deserve. That's fine. They can go race, I don't know, 4 days of Dunkirk. I don't give a shit. You do not deserve. I mean, do you think that no, you don't go to the Super Bowl when you don't deserve it, and you're getting in the way. You're pack fill. That's honestly, that's the last thing I'm saying about this. I'm done. God, I was in a good mood.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I mean, I don't think
Cheers.
The fact that if there was 20 teams yesterday as opposed to 23, that would have made a difference on that final corner, a downhill corner at 45 miles an hour. It was all the best teams there.
I'm talking about overall.
Okay.
I'm not
Overall,
isolating one
you.
incident.
Your
Overall, in the broad picture, it would absolutely make a difference.
well,
But I like the dream. I mean, some of these guys that are on the smaller, what you call jitbag teams, are still there. They've made their dream come true to make it to the Tour de France. And hey, if one of those guys wins the stage, it makes it all the more exciting for the fans.
I would appreciate you recognizing my passion for this. I mean, you hear it in my voice, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Well,
you're a lover of golf. You don't want to turn on your TV on Sunday and see some guy that's 30 strokes back.
no, because
They send him home.
right. That's why they have a cut. Well, that's why they have multiple leagues, and then they have a cut. Yeah. I mean, God, maybe we put in a cut. That JB. Now you've come up with some goofy ideas. Now this might be your best idea ever. Let me think about this for
You
a
don't
minute.
have any results.
I don't want to, but hang on. I don't want to. Maybe there's a cut.
The lowest teams get cut.
Yeah, but at the same time, that first week is always the worst. So that's
A week one cut, end of week one cut, and an end of week two cut.
I'd say there's a May cut. We just don't take these goofballs to the tour.
Yeah, I foresee it after tomorrow's time trial. Things should start. I mean, you saw it today. It was already a much better stage in terms of safety for the riders. Tomorrow's a time trial. Would weed out a lot of the GC contenders, and hopefully things get a lot more safer from here on out.
Well, if I had a good idea, can I defend myself for a
Yeah,
second
you
from
can.
yesterday?
I heard you got some backup.
Where I got
the sensei himself.
I got shut down so quick yesterday, mentioning that the hard braking of the disc brakes was causing bigger pileups, more of these accidents.
Johan Brunel has to say.
Johan chimed in yesterday on the subject.
Neither Lance or George have ever raced on disc brakes. So,
I should have pointed that out.
they are riding disc brakes now, but they've never raced on them. So it's a whole different game, using it for riding or being in a peloton. It's a different, I kind of, I tend to agree partly with you, JB, that the disc brakes could be one of the factors that are influencing bigger crashes.
Wow.
Yes, I mean, if you brake, you brake hard, and there's you don't slide. But I also think that now that the riders have gotten used to the disc brakes braking so good, they probably tend to wait longer to brake.
Are Johan shows 2 hours long? Because man, that somebody can talk. I mean, they got to be 2-3 hours long.
I'm working on another show where Johan just does meditation tapes.
I feel like you put him up to that. But I listen. I will never argue with Johan. And he's right. We never did race with disc brakes. So
We didn't. I don't know if he's got. I don't think he's right on these particular crashes that we've seen over the last 2 days, but perhaps in other instances.
okay. Well, if you might just do me a favor, JB, would you ask him about my proposal to have less teams in the tour?
Yes, I'll bring it up today.
I'd love to hear his take.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will jot that down.
Boy, tomorrow's time trial, they're always important. The race of truth is always important for, obviously for the GC battle, but for these early stages where just anybody wants to have the yellow jersey. But I mean, this one for the GC guys, like everybody just more than anything trying to take inventory. So many people have hit the deck. We saw the picture of Primož Roglič, our pick going in. Maybe we can even pull that up.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this.
This is, I mean,
He looks more like a mummy than a human.
this is almost X-rated. And I'm wondering, I don't know if it's the angle of the shot, but if his actual, you know what I mean, is actually bandaged. That's
portal of exit.
Yeah, that's really the number 2 spot. That's unfortunate. But
The best part of that pick is he's actually smiling. I mean, most people in that situation would be probably on their way home. And apparently he thinks still crashing in the early parts of the Tour de France is actually good luck because he's had that before in the Vuelta. He went on to win, and he thinks that that's going to bring him better luck at the end of the Tour de France.
It's just a question of what that feels like.
Yeah,
to go out on a.
Yeah, I don't think we can see a huge performance from him tomorrow. I think it's all about minimizing his time loss because it's going to be hard for me to imagine him being at 100% for tomorrow's time trial.
Can we go back to the photo right quick? I'm sorry, I just want to look at something.
The comments on the bottom part.
Well, I don't want to. So look at here. Okay, so forget the bunghole and the legs, but look at his left elbow. Are you in a time trial? Where do you spend 90% of your time in the time trial?
On that thing.
On your elbows. I mean, forget all the other stuff. That's going to be troublesome for him. That elbow, and no telling what the right elbow looks like. Ouch.
No, because he crashed the first day too, so he's probably got both sides banged up.
That's ouch with the aero bars and
it makes for sleeping very difficult.
Tons of pressure on that. It's not just you're not just laying them out there and trying to get aero. You've got your hands on the extensions, and you're actually you see this.
Then talk about another injury, which I was mistakenly fed wrong information from my inside sources within the peloton yesterday that Geraint Thomas had pulled out. He's still in and looked pretty good today, and it's still a big factor in the race. There, in fact, Luke Rowe said that they're all in behind Geraint Thomas and Carapaz.
Are you slipping?
My sources are slipping. I'm not slipping.
Yeah. I just think it's a bit. I mean, all of these guys have to figure out. Karpaz on day one, we thought, ooh, didn't look that good. He does have questions. I don't care what's happened. He's got questions. Roglic has physical questions. Pogacar's hit the deck. He's got questions. Geraint Thomas has questions. This is going to be telling.
Yeah, like tomorrow's going to be a physical assessment of the damage from the first 4 days,
and we'll find out real fast who took the worst hit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think we also need to touch upon tomorrow. I mean, albeit it's a short stage, 27 kilometers. People think, oh, time trial. The guys that aren't going for it, it's a rest day, which it can be. But for the guys that are going for it, for the team staff, for the mechanics, I mean, the planning around these sort of time trials, and I think Johan will do a great job explaining that later on in his show. Is there's all kinds of logistical, obstacles that are going to come into play, or obstacles, like Johan says, are going to come into play tomorrow. Whether it's do you ride to the start line? Do you ride the course? The course is usually one, start at one point, finish at another. So you got to figure out how to get back to the start, where to eat before the start. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy logistics that go into tomorrow's stage that a lot of the people don't understand. But it's going to be a very stressful day for the top guys going for the GC and the staff behind those guys.
And who ends up in yellow? Because I think a sleeper here, because he's by and large avoided the carnage, is Julian Alaphilippe, although he has crashed. He's my wild card. And look at this is so funny, and we'll hear from Alain tomorrow morning. But this time trial starts like us dumbass Americans. It says change. Now I'm sure in French that says, because it's got a little thing on the e, it says changer or whatever it says. But could we see a change in the yellow jersey? I mean, I don't know enough about Van der Poel's time trialing, but
to your point, Alaphilippe has surprised us in recent past.
I tell you, you give
trial.
This guy some rope, watch out. And he's on the. We talked about the morale on that team, and he looked. I mean, we saw what he did in stage one. He's ready, and we saw 2 or 3 years ago he can time trial and he can climb.
So and we have to. I mean, if you saw MVP's interview after the finish, he said, you have to be realistic. Like, I have not worked at all on my time trialing. So he's already saying there's a very low probability of him keeping the jersey.
He's got 8 seconds.
So, yeah, I mean, and then you saw what Alaphilippe did a couple of years ago in the time trial. Nobody expected him to win the time trial in the yellow jersey. And he had similar form to what he has now. So I wouldn't put it past him being in yellow tomorrow.
So there could be a changer when we start in changer.
Yeah, correct. Well, no, when we finish.
Well,
it's not going to be a changer at the start.
That's a very good point. I just like saying changer.
So who's your pick then? For the win.
Boy, for the win. I tell you, I'm gonna and look at the course. It's technical. It's not flat. Look at this course. Look at all the turns, all the roundabouts. If you really look at it, I'm picking Alaphilippe
for the win.
Yeah, right. I am actually.
Well, I'm going to try to go for 2 in a row since I got yesterday's pick. You didn't really mention too much about that on today's show. But I'm
picking Cavendish.
No, I'm going to go with Van Aert tomorrow. I feel like he's been sleeping there. I think he's probably getting better as a day. He hasn't really gotten in any trouble. And, I think I'm going to go with him tomorrow.
By the way, Johan Brunel, we can say all the nice things we want about him, but did I see yesterday that he actually went in and tried to change his pick for the overall win?
He did.
Instagram?
He just shuffled the podium from Roglic.
Right, but that's not the point of making a prediction. That's like getting the day before Paris, and I mean, no. The answer is no. Disqualified. You cannot do that.
I'm gonna keep with my original pick, even though it's a long road ahead. Higgs, let's throw up this pick you got for us. Here we go. Cavendish back in the green jersey.
Wow.
Hugging Patrick Lefebvre. It doesn't get much better than that. I don't think. Even a month or 2 ago, he could have imagined this moment. So it's just super special to see that.
Who didn't he hug today? I thought he was going to start going down the line with the crowd, the spectators.
Well,
you got a hug from
COVID's
everyone.
Still lingering. I wouldn't be hugging too many people, but let's hope in all these pictures we see the green jersey, we see the hug by the team boss Patrick Lefebvre. I hope at one point there's another photo where he's got his hand down his pocket taking money out of it. I'm telling you, I want to know. I want to know because you're not a legend like him. Go to a team for low pay and not have big bonuses. I want to know.
That's how you usually get the deal done. I'll take the low pay, and you only pay me if I win.
Yeah, I suck. I'm an old man. I can't do anything. Just throw out a number. I'll say yes. I hope he's got his hand down his back pocket. Just got the black card out. Right? For real. Let's talk about the We Do segment presented by Outside Plus Leaderboard over there outside of Brevard, North Carolina. It looks like we got some action. I think first we got the women's leaderboard. Evie Edwards. Please don't beat me, Evie. Oh, shoot. It's close.
Evie would be 4th or 5th on the men's
Wait,
leaderboard.
did she? What was my time?
You were 19-ish. No, you were 20. Sorry, you were 20.
Okay, so I'm leading the women's category so far. That's good. Nowhere near. I mean, I'm like a mile behind all these young kids, but we got people making the journey. I love this. Evie Edwards ahead of Karen Willis, and then Stephanie Sullivan rounding out the podium. All right here. Look at this. I love this too. June 26th, all within 2 days. People making that voyage to Brevard.
I saw a guy did it on an electric skateboard the other day, which doesn't qualify for the We Do segment, but it was still an interesting
I'm seeing
attempt.
more and more. It's funny you say this. I out on the trails around here, like, first of all, I don't get a lot of these things that people use to get around. I don't understand this shit. Like the scooter thing, you all know I hate the scooter thing. But I see more and more people riding around town on the one wheels, which I'm like, all right, well
they're all over my neighborhood.
And now I'm seeing these one wheelers on the single tracks and without helmets. I'm like, you guys are crazy. I mean, I'd lose it. I
First
could
of
not
all,
do that.
adults should not be on that. My buddy Sam, who you've met, he got one. I go, call me when your ankle's broken.
Sure enough.
A couple weeks later.
Yeah, because kids' ankles don't break on them.
Kids are they fall better.
They're like Gumby.
Yeah, they just fall, but really well. Oh, and before we get off the segment, did you see the split in the men's? This is something to watch.
Okay, let's see it.
Look at the time split on 1 and 2.
2 seconds.
Now that's and they can do it again
Right.
before it ends.
Well, no, they have until the day before the end of the tour. So
lay down the strategy on that. Do you try to do it 5 times, or do you wait and train and peak and
I don't
do
know.
it on the last day?
If you are making the trip for this huge prize purse, then you're sort of stuck. You gotta go that day. But if you're in the area, I would wait as long as possible. And there's nothing that says you don't have to. I mean, you can do it as many times as you want. Now, we did get a good question from one of our participants, let's call it, about this issue around power meters. Now, because power meters are a little bit cost prohibitive. We know that they're not cheap. If you're racing for the overall and the $10,000 first place prize, you have to have one, right? And you probably have one already because you're a serious cyclist. If you're competing for the second place in the 75 to 79-year-old male category, don't worry about it. You're all good. But if you're going for the big dough, by the way, is there any bike race awarding anybody $10,000 this year in America?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No.
I just like hearing you say that. But exciting. Yeah. No, do as many times as you want. In fact, I was thinking about sneaking out there on the rest day, borrowing one of George's friends' jizzies, going out there. That would be so hilarious. Like if I started to feel good and I didn't tell him and I borrowed a jizzy.
If you got the jizzy, I'm coming.
No, I wouldn't tell you. And I sneak out there and I beat his time. And just like one day we were sitting here and you're like, whoa, what just happened? And I could make up something. Anyways.
Any friends out there with jizzies, if you want to sponsor the segment, I'm coming. G's coming.
All right. Also, happy hour for members coming.
Yep. Thursday night, members only happy hour. Ask all the questions you want. We'll get to as many of them as we can. That's cool. But the coolest part is we're going to kick the whole thing off with a pull-up contest. And I guess you know what I was going to say. I make you go first, George.
What is this?
Because I only need to do one more than you.
So wait, now who's going first?
We'll flip a coin. We're going to flip a coin.
Right.
I thought I would make you go first, but we'll flip a coin, and I'll honor that. But we'll kick off the happy hour with a pull-up contest.
All right, bet.
See if we can embarrass George a little bit in front of all his people.
A couple of quick questions. We'll do one that's more tactical and one that's just fun. All right. Mm-hmm. First, this is Forrest. I'm curious how big an impact there would be if there were no time bonuses in the tour. We saw Vanderpool take yellow with the help of 2 time bonuses. Would it change the race in a big way?
Totally.
And there's been tours where they've limited the time bonuses. So it's just right now it's just a question of adding to the excitement. I believe, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened on stage 2 without those time bonuses. None of that happens. I mean, his explosive first move on the Mur de Bretagne, then the second one. I mean, none of that happens. Like that was, you have to say that was a good thing.
All right, now a much more lighthearted one. Gentlemen, thanks for the spectacular show every day. During your time in the peloton, who was the funniest rider? Cordially, Old and Slow in Colton, California.
I think George and I can agree on this, and we've had him on the show before. Brian Holm was a crack up.
Yeah, Brian and today's winner, Mark Cavendish, one of the funniest guys I've ever been around.
Yeah, you're right about that. Good, and just to say it again, Cav, if you're listening, fucking A, dude, that's amazing. I mean, I'm. It takes a lot for me to sit there and go, I don't think I just witnessed what I witnessed. I'm shocked, and at the same time, I'm super proud of him and happy for him, and glad I was wrong. I don't like being wrong, but for this time, I am really glad I was wrong.
If you have questions for tomorrow's show, anytime during the tour, themove@wedo.team.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys after the time trial.